The brake line to his car had been cut.
Elliot.
But by
My
who?
mother will take care
No
of
one
you.
knew, not even
We will
him.
help you get better.
Elliot Warren knew it the moment the car went airborne. Knew it when he pumped the brakes and felt nothing. Knew it when Lucia screamed his name. Knew it when their daughter's voice cut off mid-cry as they hit the water. He was supposed to die with them. But fate is cruel in specific ways. The driver's side door broke free on impact. The current pulled him toward the surface while it dragged them down. He fought to go back, lungs burning, hands grasping at metal and water, and nothing. By the time rescuers pulled him from the river, his family had been under for 4 minutes. Non era un incidente. It wasn't an accident. He whispered it to doctors who stitched his head wound. Whispered it to police who called it mechanical failure. Whispered it until everyone stopped listening and started calling it survivor's guilt. They called him broken. They were right. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from: Lagos, Nairobi, London, Toronto, New York. Hit subscribe so you don't miss stories like this. For 2 years, Elliot Warren had been a ghost haunting his own life. The injuries healed 3 broken ribs, shattered collarbone, traumatic brain injury that left him with migraines and memory gaps. But the wound that wouldn't close was simpler. He lived, and they didn't. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped believing tomorrow was anything but punishment for the crime of breathing when they couldn't. Until the day his housekeeper hired a maid who spoke Italian. Until Leah Brooks walked through his door with secrets that could destroy them both. She'd been there 5 years ago, a janitor mopping floors outside a boardroom, when powerful men laughed about Rome and bridges and how to make murder look like mechanical failure. She tried to report it. They silenced her. Now she stood in the home of the man whose family paid for that silence. The man who should have died but didn't. And she'd come to settle the debt. Mrs. Harris conducted the interview in the garden room, sunlight making lies difficult. 3 folders sat on the table when Leah arrived. By the time she sat down, only 1 remained. The others didn't make it past preliminary screening. Mrs. Harris tapped the single folder. "You're the only candidate we're considering." Leah kept her hands folded in her lap. "May I ask why?" The Italian. Mrs. Harris's eyes were sharp, assessing. "It's essential. More than I can explain right now." "I understand." "Do you?" Mrs. Harris leaned back. "Because I need to understand something first. You're fluent in Italian, French, and English. Your application says you learned Italian from your mother. But—" She paused, choosing words carefully. "That's not a common background. How did a young black woman from Lagos end up speaking Italian like you were born in Rome?" Leah had expected this. Every interview carried this moment. "My mother was a housekeeper for an Italian diplomatic family when she was young, before she had me. They brought her to Italy for 3 years. She learned the language caring for their children. When she came back, she was pregnant. With me." Mrs. Harris's expression shifted. Understanding, not judgment. "The father was Italian, was married, was gone." Leah's voice stayed level. "My mother raised me speaking Italian at home because she said it was the only inheritance he'd ever give me. She was right. And the French? School. Lagos has good schools if you can afford them. My mother made sure I could." Mrs. Harris nodded slowly, then slid a photograph across the table. A man with kind eyes and a distant expression, standing at a window. "This is Mr. Warren, Elliot. He's complicated. Most grieving people are. It's more than grief." Mrs. Harris's voice dropped. 2 years ago, there was an accident. A car went off a bridge, his wife Lucia and their daughter Sophia, 7 years old. She paused. The car was supposed to be his. He was supposed to drive to a meeting that morning, but Lucia offered to take the car, drop Sophia at school, meet him at the office after. She was being kind. Leah's chest tightened. "But the car was tampered with." Mrs. Harris's eyes snapped up. "How did you—" "You said, supposed to be his." "That's not the language of random accidents." A long silence. Mrs. Harris studied her. "The police ruled it mechanical failure, faulty brakes. But Elliot doesn't believe it. He believes someone meant to kill him and his family died in his place. Do you believe him?" Mrs. Harris looked at the photograph. I believe he was a different man before the bridge. And I believe powerful men came to this house asking questions they shouldn't ask if it was just an accident. Leah felt the weight of the moment. What happened to him after? He stopped living, stopped speaking English for weeks, only Italian, his wife's language, like he was trying to call her back. The doctors call it dissociative episodes triggered by trauma. I call it a man who can't forgive himself for being alive. And you need someone who can understand him when he reaches for her. Yes. Mrs. Harris slid a typed sheet forward. The position is live-in, medical screening, psychological eval, NDA. And you need to know he can be difficult, angry. Some days he doesn't want help. Some days he doesn't want to be alive. Grief is difficult. People are just mirrors. Mrs. Harris's voice softened. There's something else you should know. If he speaks Italian, don't correct him. Don't try to pull him back. Just listen. He's not talking to you in those moments. He's talking to her ghost. I understand. Do you? Because you'll hear what the rest of us can't bear. You'll hear a man trying to speak to the dead. Leah met her eyes. I've been the person in the hallway my whole life. Listening is where I live. There's one more thing. Mrs. Harris hesitated. People have been trying to get close to him. Reporters, lawyers, people claiming to be family, people we think were sent. If anyone approaches you, offers you money, asks you questions, you come to me immediately. His life may depend on it. Sent by whom? We don't know yet, but we're working on it. Mrs. Harris stood. The medical screening is this afternoon. If you pass, you start tomorrow. Pack light. And Miss Brooks? She paused at the door. If you have any other reason for being here, besides the job, now is the time to walk away. Leah's pulse quickened, but her voice stayed calm. I need the work. I have a daughter to feed. Mrs. Harris studied her one last time, then nodded. Tomorrow then. The screening was the kind poor people accept as diligence. Blood pressure, reflexes. A psychologist asking about impulse control. Leah answered calmly, told truth where it mattered and some truth where it didn't. She didn't mention the night she'd heard men laughing about Rome and breaks and numbers that sounded like sins. She didn't say Elliot's name. Names wake ghosts. By evening, the call came. You're hired. Come tomorrow. Leah found her daughter stretched on her stomach doing homework. Mia. Brown eyes looked up, curious and bright. Did we get it? We got it. Mia grinned. Is it the big house? With the ocean? Yes. Is the man nice? Leah hesitated. He's broken. We're going to help. Mia stared at the ceiling the way children expect it to listen. Do we tell him about Dad? Not yet. Some stories need a safe room first. Like mine? Like ours. Night at the mansion was a different animal. Halls widened into silence. The ocean broke itself against rocks. Mrs. Harris showed Leah through rooms that still smelled of someone else's laughter, ending at a door she didn't open. The master suite. You won't go in unless called. At 2 a.m., the house called anyway. A sound half-word, half-wound, dragged Leah from her narrow bed. She followed it to the study, light bleeding under the door. She knocked, once. Twice. Sir? Silence. She eased the door open. Elliot sat on the floor by the desk, back against the cabinet, gripping his hair like pain could be anchored by force. Papers scattered around him like snow. His eyes trained on the fireplace, but he was seeing something else. Somewhere else. I freni non funzionano. His voice was hollow, distant, terrified. The brakes aren't working. Leah's breath caught. He wasn't here. He was back in the car. Lucia, tienila stretta. Lucia, hold her tight. She moved carefully, set water within reach, knelt not close enough to intrude on the nightmare he was living, close enough to be human. Sto cercando di fermarla, non si ferma. His breathing quickened, panic rising. I'm trying to stop it. It won't stop. Leah understood now. He wasn't just broken. He was trapped in the moment the car went over. The moment he pumped brakes that gave him nothing. The The moment he heard his wife scream and his daughter cry, and knew KNEW, they were about to die. Il ponte stiamo andando nel. The bridge we're going into the. His whole body jerked like he'd hit the water. His hands came up, grasping at air. Lucia, Sofia. He was sobbing now, fighting invisible currents. Non riesco a raggiungerti. Sto secando le mie mani troppo buio. I can't reach you. I'm trying my hands too dark. Mr. Warren. Leah's voice was soft but firm. You're not in the water. You're home. But he wasn't hearing her. He was still under, still drowning, still reaching for hands that had slipped through his fingers. Perché mi hanno tirato fuori, perché solo io. Dovevo morire con loro dovevo. Why did they pull me out? Why only me? I should have died with them. I should have. She did the only thing she could think of. She answered in the language of ghosts. Lucia avrebbe voluto che vivessi. Lucia would have wanted you to live. His eyes snapped to her face, present for the first time, seeing her instead of water and darkness. Parli. His voice cracked. You speak. Si, parlo italiano. Yes, I speak Italian. She held out the water glass. Sei a casa, sei al sicuro, loro sono in pace. You're home. You're safe. They're at peace. They're at peace. They're at peace. He took the glass with shaking hands. Drank like a man remembering how. When he spoke again, it was in English exhausted, scraped raw. I hear them, every night. I hear her scream my name. I hear Sophia asking why we can't get out. And I feel the water filling my lungs, and I think this is it. I'm dying with them, but then I wake up. His voice broke. And they're still gone, and I'm still here, and I don't know why. Because you survived, and that's not a crime. It feels like one. Leah's throat tightened. How long do the episodes last? Hours sometimes. I go back to the bridge, and I can't find my way home. He looked at her with eyes that had seen too much dark. You didn't run. No. Even when I was drowning again. You weren't drowning. You were remembering. There's a difference. Something in his face shifted, not relief exactly, but recognition. Like someone had finally spoken his language. They hired you because you speak Italian. They hired me because you need someone who can meet you, where the pain lives. He stared at her, trying to decide if that made her brave or foolish. Stay out of my office. Unless you're drowning in it. The ghost of something that might have been gratitude crossed his face. Get out. She stood. Buonanotte, signor. Don't call me sir. She left the door open, the doorway version of a lifeline thrown to a man who kept sinking. The morning brought rules. Mrs. Harris slid a typed sheet across the kitchen table. We keep a schedule. You handle meals, light cleaning, wardrobe. Leave the study alone unless summoned. If he has an episode, if he speaks Italian for more than 5 minutes, call doctor. Rowan immediately. Leah nodded, eyes on the emergency protocol. His beard. He lets it go when days go bad. Sometimes he'll let you trim it. Sometimes he won't let anyone near. I'll ask quietly. On the 4th day, she started his laundry. She found his clothes in the hamper, expensive fabrics that had seen better care, shirts wrinkled from careless wearing, suits that hadn't been properly maintained. She washed them with the kind of attention her mother had taught her, separate darks from lights, cold water for delicates, hang-dry the wool. When she brought the pressed shirts to his room to hang them, she paused. The closet was organized but lifeless, everything functional, nothing personal. She arranged the shirts by color, the way a wife might have done. As she worked, her scarf slipped from her hair and landed on his bed. She didn't notice. By the 3rd day, the house learned her footsteps. She ironed shirts, fixed the pantry list, learned which windows lied about being closed. She moved flowers from rooms that had stopped living into rooms that decided to try. That evening, she made dinner simple pasta, the way poor people make it when they want it to taste like home. She knocked on the study door. Leave it. It's getting cold. Silence. Then, come in. She set the tray down. He stared at it like it was evidence of something. You cook Italian food. My mother taught me. She said, if you're going to be poor, at least eat like you have dignity. Something crossed his face, not quite a smile but close. What's your daughter's name? The question surprised her. Mia. How old? 12. He picked up the fork, twirled pasta the way Italians do. Bring her here. What? Your daughter. I heard you have a little daughter. This house needs to remember what a child sounds like. His voice was firm but gentle. Move in. Both of you. Use the guest suite on the second floor. It has good light. Leah's throat tightened. Mr. Warren. Elliot. And I'm not asking. I'm insisting. Mia shouldn't have to stay away while you're here. This house has too many empty rooms. Too many ghosts. Maybe a living child will remind it how to breathe. Mia arrived the next day with a backpack full of books and eyes that saw everything. She stood in the foyer, taking inventory. It's like a castle, she said. It's like a museum, Elliot corrected, coming down the stairs. But we're working on that. Mia studied him with 12-year-old frankness. You're sad. Mia! Leah's voice was mortified, but Elliot crouched to her level. Yes. I am. Is that okay? My mum is sad sometimes too. She hides it better. Mia tilted her head. Do you play piano? Yes. Can you teach me? If you can handle being bad at it first. I can handle anything. He smiled, a real one. I believe you. Over 2 weeks, Mia became the house's heartbeat. She'd do homework at the kitchen table, practice piano in the evenings, ask Elliot questions that made him remember how to answer without drowning. One evening, Leah found them on the music room floor, homework spread between them. You have to hook them in the first sentence, Elliot was saying. Make them need to know what happens next. Like a mystery. Exactly. He read her essay. This word's sad. Too simple. What's better? Devastated? Better. Hollowed out? He smiled. Even better. Mia chewed her pencil. Have you ever felt hollowed out? The question hung. Elliot didn't flinch. Yes. What did you do? I survived. Then I found people who taught me how to live again. He glanced at the doorway where Leah stood. Your mum is one of them. Leah's heart twisted watching them, this man who'd lost a daughter teaching her daughter who'd never had a father. 2 days later, Elliot was shaving in the bathroom when Leah passed by. The door was open. He glanced at her in the mirror. Morning. Morning. She paused. You're shaving again. Thought it was time. She stepped closer. You missed a spot. Where? She pointed to his jaw. Their hands were suddenly close. He adjusted the razor, nicked himself. A drop of blood. Here. She dampened a towel, pressed it to his jaw. They were standing very close now. His hand came up, covered hers, just for a second. Their eyes met in the mirror. Neither spoke. The moment was too fragile. Then footsteps on the stairs broke it. They separated, the spell broken but not forgotten. That night, Elliot went to his room and found the scarf. It lay across his pillow, pale blue silk with embroidered flowers. He picked it up to return it, but something stopped him. The scent. Not perfume, something warmer, lived in. It smelled like... He closed his eyes, and suddenly Lucia was there, wrapping a scarf around her hair before they took Sophia to the park. The smell was the same. Not the scent itself, the life in it. A woman who moved through the world with grace and refused to be invisible. His hands tightened on the fabric. For 2 years, he'd avoided reminders of what he'd lost. But this wasn't loss. This was something new. Something that didn't replace Lucia, but stood beside her memory. Something that whispered, You're allowed to want again. He sat on the bed, still holding the scarf, and let himself see what he'd been refusing to acknowledge. Leah wasn't just helping him survive, she was teaching him to live. Her daughter looked at him like he was worth believing in. And Leah made tomorrow feel less like punishment. He was terrified. The next day, Leah was in her room getting ready when she heard the door open. Mrs. Harris, She turned. Elliot stood in the doorway, frozen. She'd been checking her appearance in the mirror, hair down, casual dress, no longer in her work clothes. For a moment, neither moved. I'm sorry, I thought. He stepped back. It's fine. She smoothed her dress self-consciously. Did you need something? He held up the blue scarf. You left this. Oh, thank you. She reached for it. Their fingers touched. The air changed. His eyes held hers, not looking through her anymore, but at her, seeing her, the woman, not the employee. Leah. Mr. Warren? Mrs. Harris's voice broke the moment from downstairs. They stepped apart quickly, both breathing a little faster. There's someone at the door, Mrs. Harris called. Elliot's whole body shifted, became alert, coiled. Who? Says his name is Kellen Ward, medical consultancy. His face went hard. Tell him I'll be down. He looked at Leah, the moment broken but not forgotten. Get Mia. Lock her in this room. Don't come out until I say. Please, trust me. Elliot's voice was different, sharp, alert. And watch. Leah's pulse quickened. Watch what? How men lie when they think you're not listening. Mrs. Harris appeared with a nurse in crisp white, eyes too curious to be kind. From the agency, the clinic recommended a supplemental caregiver just evenings. Elliot stood slowly, and Leah saw it. He'd been expecting this. Which clinic? The nurse smiled, showing teeth. Dr. Keats referred. Dr. Keats retired in 2019. Elliot's voice was ice. Which agency sent you? The man's smile flickered. Sir, I have the paperwork. Show me. The nurse reached for his bag. Elliot stepped forward. Slowly. The man's hand hovered. Mr. Warren, I'm here to help. You're here to report. Elliot's eyes were razors. On my medications, my episodes, my fitness. Who's paying you? Alba Securitas? The man's face went blank, the kind of blank that confirms everything. Out, now, and tell whoever sent you that I'm keeping a list. The nurse left, but not before Leah caught it, the slight turn of his head, eyes scanning the room, cataloguing, memorizing. Mrs. Harris closed the door. How did you know? I didn't. Until he came. Elliot walked to the window, and for the first time since Leah arrived, she saw something different in his posture. Not broken. Dangerous. But I've been waiting. They've been testing the fences for months. That was just the latest probe. Who are they? Leah asked carefully. Before Elliot could answer, headlights swept across the driveway. A black Mercedes, expensive, understated, the kind of car that whispers power instead of shouting it. Elliot's whole body went rigid. Get Mia. Lock her in the guest room. Don't come out until I say. His voice had changed, completely cold, commanding, the voice of a man used to being obeyed without question. She moved quickly. By the time she returned, a man was standing in the foyer. Tall, silver-haired, expensive suit. A face that smiled easily, but eyes that calculated constantly. Fratello. The man opened his arms. Brother. Dante. Elliot didn't move. It's late for a social call. Is it? I was in the area. Thought I'd check on my favorite cousin. Dante's eyes swept the room, landing on Leah. And who's this? New staff? New help? She doesn't concern you. Everything concerns me when it comes to family. Dante smiled at Leah, warm, charming, predatory. I'm Dante Rossi, Elliot's cousin. We grew up together in Rome. Leah felt the weight of that smile. Leah Brooks. Beautiful name. Italian? My mother was. Ah. Then you understand familiar. He turned back to Elliot. Which is why I'm here. We need to talk. About the Rome situation. There is no Rome situation. There's always a Rome situation. Dante moved into the study uninvited, poured himself whiskey from the bar like he owned the place. The Vittorio contract, the one you were supposed to finalize 2 years ago, before your accident. The air in the room changed. That contract died with the old board, Elliot said. No. That contract is very much alive. In fact, it's become rather urgent. Dante swirled his glass. You see, certain parties in Rome, family parties, used your name as collateral on a rather large transaction. Oil futures. Gold shipments. The kind of deal that requires Warren credibility to move through international channels. Elliot's voice dropped to something lethal. You used my name without my permission. You were indisposed. Someone had to keep the family business moving. Dante's smile never wavered. The problem is, The deal closes in 3 months, and it requires your signature. Your physical presence in Rome to transfer the assets. I'm not going to Rome. Then there's a problem. Because if this deal falls through, certain people who've already spent money they don't have, will be very upset. The kind of upset that ends bloodlines. Leah's breath caught. She understood now. This wasn't just business. This was the mafia. Elliot crossed his arms. Let me be clear. I don't care about your deal. I don't care about Rome. And I especially don't care about whatever hole Uncle Vittorio dug himself into this time. It's not just Vittorio. Dante set down his glass with deliberate care. It's the family. The Rossi name. Your mother's name. The one you've been running from since you moved to America and started playing businessman. I wasn't playing. I built a legitimate company. With our money. Dante's voice hardened. With connections we provided. With protection we arranged. You don't get to pretend you're clean just because you filed the right paperwork and hired American lawyers. The two men stared at each other, blood recognizing blood, predator recognizing predator. The accident, Elliot said slowly. The brakes. That was you. No. Dante's answer came too quickly. That was never the plan. But you knew. Silence stretched like a blade. I knew there were. Concerns. About your audit. About what you might find if you looked too closely at the Rome contracts. Dante's face was stone. I knew certain parties were nervous. But the accident? That was supposed to be a warning. A scare. Brake lines don't always fail completely. Sometimes they just make you think twice about pushing too hard. Except they did fail. Completely. And my family died. They weren't supposed to be in the car. The mask finally cracked. Real anguish flashed across Dante's face. You were supposed to drive alone to the meeting. Just you. A close call, maybe a minor crash, enough to make you reconsider the audit. No one was supposed to die. Especially not Lucia. Especially not. He stopped. Collected himself. When I found out what happened, when I heard they were in the car, I nearly killed Marco myself. Marco. Elliot's voice was dead calm. Marco Santori. My business partner. Your business partner who happens to be married to Vittorio's daughter. Who happens to owe the family 15 million euros from a bad investment. Who saw an opportunity to solve multiple problems at once. Dante met his eyes. He went to Vittorio, said you were going to expose the Rome operation, cost the family hundreds of millions, destroy everything we'd built. He said if you had an accident, the insurance would pay out, your shares would revert to the company, and he could close the Vittorio deal using your assets to cover his debt. And Vittorio agreed. Vittorio is old, desperate, scared of losing everything. Dante's voice dropped. He didn't order your death, Elliot. He ordered a warning. Marco turned it into murder. And when you survived, when you started asking questions, started remembering, Marco panicked. He's been trying to finish the job ever since. Elliot walked to the window, hands clenched behind his back. When he spoke, his voice was so quiet it was terrifying. How many people knew? About the brakes. Just Marco, Vittorio, and the mechanic. About the larger plan to pressure you. Maybe a dozen. Family. Soldiers. People who thought they were protecting the operation. And you? I knew you were being pressured. I didn't know they'd cut the brakes until after the crash. Dante's voice cracked. I loved Lucia. I was at your wedding. I held Sophia when she was born. You think I wanted them dead, but you let it happen. I didn't know. You knew enough. Elliot turned, and Leah saw something in his eyes that made her blood run cold. This wasn't grief anymore. This was rage, precise and cold and lethal. You're here because they sent you. To see if I'm still broken. To see if I remember. To see if I'm still someone who can be controlled, or if I've become a problem that needs solving. Dante didn't deny it. Tell them, Elliot said softly, that I remember everything. Tell them I know about Marco, about Vittorio, about the debt and the contracts and every lie they've told. And tell them that the man who crawled out of that river isn't the same one who went in. Elliot, don't do something stupid. The family tried to kill me. The family murdered my wife and child. The family has been stalking me for 2 years, trying to make sure I stay quiet and compliant. He stepped closer, and even though Dante was bigger, he seemed to shrink. I am done being their victim. What are you going to do? What I should have done 2 years ago. His voice was ice and iron. I'm going to burn them all down. Dante stared at him, then slowly nodded. You know what that means. You know what declaring war on the family means. I know what family means now. And these people aren't it. After Dante left, the house was silent as a grave. Leah found Elliot in the study, standing in the dark, staring at nothing. You're from the mafia, she said quietly. My mother was a Rossi, one of the oldest families in Rome. Gold, oil, minerals, legitimate businesses built on illegitimate foundations. His voice was hollow. I thought I'd left that world, built something clean, something mine. But you can't ever really leave. Not when they own your name. What are you going to do? He turned to her, and in his eyes she saw something that terrified her. Not grief, not even anger. Something colder, more final. I'm going to kill them. All of them. Marco, Vittorio, everyone who knew, everyone who let it happen. I'm going ghost the way my grandfather taught me. The way the Rossi handled traitors. His hands curled into fists. They wanted me dead? I'll show them what dead looks like. Elliot. They took everything. My wife, my daughter, 2 years of my life. They took my family and tried to take my mind. His voice broke on the last word. They don't get to walk away. Leah stepped closer, put herself between him and whatever darkness he was staring into. Listen to me. I understand. God, I understand wanting to hurt the people who hurt you, but if you do this, if you go after them the way you're planning, you become exactly what they are. Good. Then I'll speak their language. No. She put her hands on his chest, felt his heart hammering. You'll lose yourself. You'll lose Mia. You'll lose me. And you'll prove them right that you're just another Rossi, just another killer in an expensive suit. What am I supposed to do? Let them win? No. You do what they fear most. Her voice was steady, certain. You go legal. You build a case they can't bribe their way out of. You expose them in court where the whole world can watch. You don't kill them in the dark. You destroy them in the light. He stared at her, war raging behind his eyes. I want blood, he whispered. I know. But blood won't bring them back. Justice might not either. But at least justice lets you look at yourself in the mirror. At least justice lets you be the father Mia deserves. The man She stopped. The man, you what? Her eyes filled with tears. The man I respect and cherish. The words fell out raw and honest. Ever since I came in here to work, you've shown me and my daughter what a real home looks like. What our lives have been missing for years. She stepped closer, her voice breaking. The way you take care of us, the way you talk to us with respect. Mia loves you so much. She talks about you at every opportunity. She calls you her mister. Elliot, like you're the most important person in the world. His throat worked. Leah. And I watch you with her, teaching her piano, helping with homework, making her laugh when she's had a hard day at school. I watch you fight to live when it would be easier to give up. I watch you choosing to be kind when the world gave you every reason to be cruel. Tears spilled over. You've become our family, Elliot. And I will not watch you throw your life away on revenge that turns you into a monster. I won't let you become the thing that tried to destroy you. He stepped closer, his hands trembling as they came up to frame her face. You shouldn't want this. You shouldn't want me. I'm broken. I'm dangerous. I come from a world that eats people like you alive. Then I'll learn to be dangerous too. She covered his hands with hers. But I won't learn to be cruel. And neither will you. Because that's not who you are. Not with Mia. Not with me. Not when you let yourself be real. They'll come for you, he whispered. For her. The family doesn't forgive betrayal. Then we'll face them together, but we face them the right way. We don't become them. He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair, and for a moment he let himself be weak. Let himself be held. Let himself believe that maybe there was a way through this that didn't end with him drowning again. I don't deserve you, he said against her shoulder. You don't get to decide what you deserve. You just get to decide what you do next. She pulled back, looked him in the eyes. So what are you going to do, Elliot Warren? Are you going to be a Rossi, or are you going to be the man who survived the river and chose to live anyway? I prefer strategically reckless. She stepped back, pulled out her phone. So, do we call your DA friend now, or do you need 5 more minutes to brood dramatically by the window? Despite everything, he laughed. It was a broken sound, but it was real. Call Hargrove, he said. Tell him I need to report a conspiracy. And tell him to bring coffee. This is going to take all night. Hargrove arrived at midnight with 2 federal prosecutors and a RICO specialist. They spread evidence across Elliot's dining table, surveillance photos, financial records, phone logs, the forged work order. Marco Santori isn't mafia, Hargrove said, studying the documents. He's a businessman who married into the family and got desperate. That makes him sloppy. Yara opened her laptop. Alba Securitas, the shell company that paid for the surveillance, the fake nurse, Ward's operation. I traced every payment. They all lead back to Marco's personal accounts. He used his own money. Why would he do that? Rowan asked. Because he owes Vittorio 15 million euros, Elliot said quietly. He gambled on the Rome contracts, using my name as collateral. When I threatened to audit, he panicked. Killing me was supposed to solve 2 problems, silence me and claim my insurance to pay his debt. Hargrove leaned forward. We have the mechanic Maldi ready to testify. We have the forged work order. We have financial forensics connecting Marco to the surveillance. We have the guard captain who admitted Marco called him directly to pull the bridge detail. He tapped the table. But none of that will survive a good defense attorney unless we have one thing. Marco's confession, Leah said. On tape. Undeniable. The kind that makes juries convict in 20 minutes. How do we get him to confess? Elliot asked. We make him think he's won. Hargrove pulled out a file. You call him. Tell him you're tired of fighting. Tell him you want to sign over your shares, disappear quietly, end the investigation. He'll come to gloat, to make sure you understand your place. And when he does, we record everything, Elliot finished. Exactly. Hargrove slid papers across. We'll wire a private room at La Traviata, your old club. Micro cameras, hidden mics, the works. Leah goes as your translator, gives her a reason to be there. Marco won't suspect because he thinks you're broken, medicated, ready to surrender. What if he doesn't say anything incriminating? Leah asked. Then we arrest him on the existing evidence. But men like Marco? Hargrove smiled coldly. They can't help themselves. When they think they've won, they brag. They explain, they need you to know how clever they were. Elliot stared at the papers. When? Tomorrow night. We need to move fast before he realizes how much evidence we have. Hargrove stood. Make the call in the morning. Tell him you need to talk. Tell him you're ready to deal. And Elliot, he met his eyes. Let him think you're defeated. Let him be the predator. Predators always overplay their hand. The next morning, Elliot called Marco. The phone rang 3 times before Marco answered. Elliot, this is unexpected. We need to talk, Marco. I thought the restraining order made my position clear. It did. You win. Elliot let exhaustion bleed into his voice. It wasn't hard. I can't fight you anymore. I can't prove anything. The police won't listen. The lawyers say I have no case. And I'm tired, Marco. I'm so damn tired. Silence on the other end, calculating. What do you want? Marco's voice was cautious. I want to understand why. Just why? And then I'll sign whatever you need. Transfer the shares. Accept that it was an accident. Sign the NDA. Whatever ends this. His voice cracked. I just need to know why my family had to die. More silence. Then, La Traviata. Tonight. 8 p.m. Just us. Private room. I'll bring my translator. I've been slipping into Italian again. I need someone to keep me grounded. No lawyers, no recording devices. No lawyers, no devices, just answers. Please, Marco, give me that much. A long pause, then, fine, 8 p.m. Don't be late. The line went dead. Elliot set down the phone, his hand shaking. Leah touched his shoulder. You did good, she said softly. He's coming because he wants to watch me break. Let him think that. And then we break him instead. The rest of the day was preparation. Yara went to La Traviata early, posing as event staff, and installed micro-cameras in the private room's artwork, hidden mics in the chandelier fixture. She placed a backup recorder in Leah's bracelet, if everything else failed, that would capture audio. Hargrove stationed 2 plainclothes federal agents in the restaurant's main dining room, close enough to respond, but far enough not to spook Marco. A 3rd agent waited in an unmarked car outside with an arrest warrant already signed. The deadman's switch, Yara said, strapping a watch to Elliot's wrist. If your heart rate spikes above 145 for more than 30 seconds, everything uploads automatically to federal servers and the backup team moves in. So try to stay calm. I'll try. At 7:30 p.m., Elliot put on a suit that used to mean power, but now felt like armor. Leah wore black, professional, invisible, the way translators blend into the background of important conversations. Ready? She asked. No. He looked at her. But I'm going anyway. Mrs. Harris met them at the door. Bring him down, she said quietly. For Lucia. For Sophia. For everyone who couldn't fight back. I will. They drove to La Traviata in silence, the city lights blurring past like a life neither of them recognized anymore. La Traviata was all velvet and shadow, the kind of place where money whispered instead of shouted. Elliot arrived at 8 p.m. Sharp. Leah followed 3 paces behind, the translator who was furniture, invisible until needed. Marco was already there, looking triumphant. Elliot, he didn't stand. You look terrible. I haven't been sleeping. Grief will do that. Marco gestured to the chair. Sit, let's talk. Elliot sat heavily, like a man who'd already lost. Thank you for coming. Of course. We're old friends, after all. Marco poured wine without asking. So, you wanted to understand why? Yes. The Rome contracts. You were going to audit them, expose the operation, cost the family hundreds of millions. Marco swirled his glass. You were going to destroy everything we built. My uncle's legacy, my future. So yes, Elliot, I made a decision. A hard one, but necessary. You tried to kill me. I tried to solve a problem. Marco's tone was almost casual. You were supposed to drive to the meeting alone. A mechanical failure on a rainy morning. Quick. Clean. An accident that no one would question. Elliot's hands clenched under the table. But Lucia was in the car. She wasn't supposed to be. For the first time, Marco's mask cracked. You were supposed to drive alone like you always did. But she took the keys. She wanted to drop Sophia at school first. I didn't know. He stopped, collected himself. It was unfortunate. Unfortunate. Elliot's voice was dead calm. My wife died screaming. My 7-year-old daughter drowned because I couldn't unbuckle her seatbelt fast enough. And you call it unfortunate? I call it collateral damage. Marco leaned back. These things happen in business, Elliot. Sometimes innocent people get caught in the crossfire. It's tragic, yes, but it doesn't change the math. The math. You were a threat. You had to be neutralized. The method was elegant. Cut the brake line, wait for the bridge, let gravity and water do the rest. No witnesses, no evidence. Just a grieving community and a closed case. Except I survived. Marco's jaw tightened. Yes, that. Complicated things. The car door broke free on impact. We didn't plan for that. The current pulled you up instead of down. And suddenly, instead of a dead billionaire, we had a traumatized survivor who wouldn't stop asking questions. So you tried to finish the job. We tried to manage you, surveillance, infiltration, keeping you isolated, medicated, too broken to be believed. And it worked, Elliot. For 2 years, it worked. You became the crazy widower who speaks to ghosts in Italian. No one takes you seriously anymore. Elliot stared at him. So what happens now? Marco slid papers across the table. Now you sign. Transfer of shares. Statement accepting the crash was mechanical failure caused by poor vehicle maintenance. NDA with a penalty clause that bankrupts you if you ever speak about this. And if I don't? Marco's smile had teeth. Then we finish what the river started. Another suicide. Another grief-stricken man who couldn't live with survivor's guilt. Mia becomes an orphan. Leah disappears. And no one will question it because everyone already knows how unstable you've become. Elliot looked at the papers, then at Marco. You really think you'll get away with this? I already have, for 2 years. What makes tonight different? Because, Elliot said quietly, you just confessed to murder on camera. Marco froze. His eyes darted to the chandelier, the paintings, back to Elliot. Elliot placed his phone on the table, screen showing a live feed to Hargrove's monitoring station. 3 hidden cameras, 4 microphones, federal wiretap warrant. And you just admitted to cutting my brakes, ordering my family's murder, and threatening to kill me tonight. Marco's face went white, then red. He lunged across the table, not for Elliot, for the phone. The door burst open. D.A. Hargrove walked in with 4 federal agents, badges out. Marco Santori, you're under arrest for 2 counts of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, evidence tampering, witness intimidation, and attempted murder. You have the right to remain silent, and brother, you should probably use it. An agent caught Marco mid-lunge, slammed him against the table, cuffed him. This won't hold up, Marco screamed. I was playing along, testing him. Sure you were. Hargrove held up a tablet showing the recording. The jury's going to love the part about collateral damage and finishing what the river started. Real sympathetic. As they hauled Marco toward the door, he twisted back one last time. The family will kill you for this, Elliot. You're a dead man. I've been dead before, Elliot said quietly. I'm done being afraid. They dragged him out, still screaming threats. When the door closed, Elliot sat very still. Leah touched his shoulder. It's over, she said. Not yet. His voice was hollow. Not until they're all in cages. Not until they're all in cages. Hargrove smiled. That's the next domino. And trust me, it's going to fall fast. The arrest made international headlines. By dawn, news feeds everywhere showed Marco Santori in handcuffs. Billionaire's business partner arrested in murder-for-hire plot. Family died. While he survived, now he gets justice. Within 24 hours, the family structure collapsed. Dante Rossi turned himself in, offering full testimony against Vittorio in exchange for reduced charges. The guard captain, facing bankruptcy and federal charges, flipped completely. Maldi sang like he'd been rehearsing. Senator Ricci's Rome office was raided by Italian authorities, documents seized, accounts frozen. By the 72nd hour, 12 people were in custody. The Rossi family's empire, built over 3 generations, crumbled like sand. Hargrove called it the fastest collapse of organized crime I've ever prosecuted. Elliot called it justice. Incomplete, but justice. That night, he found Leah on the terrace. The ocean was black glass under the stars. It's over, he said. Is it? She didn't look at him. Marco's in federal lockup. Vittorio's arrested. The family accounts are frozen. Dante's cooperating with prosecutors. The guard captain, Maldi, the fake nurse, everyone's talking. He stood beside her. It's over. It's over. She finally turned. What happens now? Now? He took her hand. Now I close Warren Technologies. The name's poisoned anyway. And I opened something new, the Lucia Initiative. A foundation that helps families like mine get justice. Forensic services, legal support. Translators for people whose trauma speaks the wrong language. That's beautiful. And I ask you to stay, you and Mia, not as staff, not as help. His voice dropped. As family. Real family. Tears welled in her eyes. Elliot, I'm not proposing. Not yet. It's too soon, and we both know it. He squeezed her hand. But I need you to know, you and Mia saved my life. You taught me how to live after I learned how to survive. And I want to spend whatever time I have left making sure you never question whether you made the right choice. We'll stay, she whispered. Yeah? Yeah. She smiled through tears. Where else would we go? You're stuck with us now. He pulled her close. And for the first time in 2 years, tomorrow felt like a promise instead of a threat. 6 months later, Elliot stood at the cemetery with Leah and Mia beside him. Lucia, Sophia. He knelt between the stones. I found them. I made them pay. I kept my promise. His voice broke. And now I'm going to do something that terrifies me. I'm going to live. Really live. Loudly and fully and without apology. He touched his daughter's name, carved in marble. I'll never forget you, but I'm choosing to remember forward instead of staying trapped in the moment you left. I hope, tears ran down his face, I hope wherever you are, you understand. I hope you're proud. Mia placed flowers on Sophia's grave. I'll take care of him, she whispered. I promise. When they walked back to the car, Mia slipped her hand into Elliot's. Can I call you Dad? He stopped, knelt so they were eye level. Yes, please. She hugged him, fierce and certain. Good. Because you're mine now, I choose you. I choose you too. The Lucia initiative helped 200 families in its first year. Elliot and Leah married in a small ceremony in the garden, just family, just love, just beginning. Mia was the flower girl and took her duties very seriously. 2 years after Marco's arrest, Leah gave birth to a daughter. They named her Sophia Grace Warren after the daughter Elliot lost and the grace that brought him back. When Mia held her baby sister for the first time, she was fierce and gentle all at once. I'm going to teach her everything. Elliot laughed. She's 1 day old, maybe wait a week. No time to waste. But she was smiling. That night, Elliot stood at the hospital window, watching city lights blur through tears. Lucia, he whispered to the glass, to the ghost he'd learned to carry gently. I did it. I lived. I found love again without forgetting. Thank you for saving my life. I promise I won't waste it. Behind him, Leah stirred. Come to bed. He turned, looked at his wife, his daughters, his life. I'm coming. Because tomorrow wasn't a threat anymore. It was a promise. If this story moved you, tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe. More untold stories are on the way.